He says, hey guys, what's the best way to transfer real estate from parents to children? Well, I love the brevity in that. What's the best way to transfer real estate from parents to children? This brings up a kind of a big topic. And again, the disclaimer is we're not attorneys. We're not going to give you the legal stuff, but we definitely have some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, best is such a term, right? What is the best? Well, it really depends on unique circumstances. But
Let's talk about some of the ways.
Yeah, I mean, well, usually, what you're talking about is how do we avoid taxation? Sometimes it's how do we make sure that the children get a property and they can't sell it or squander the equity or the wealth. But the answer is always going to come through a consultation with an attorney, probably an estate planning attorney. In general concepts, if you hold a property in an entity like a trust or a LLC, typically, these are entities that exist in perpetuity, meaning when you pass away, the entity doesn't. It continues. And if the children are already owners, depending on how you structure their ownership, they can have beneficial ownership of the property, but they don't necessarily have control of it. So you can maintain complete control. Through a trust, you can continue to maintain that control. The tax mitigation is probably the easiest thing to solve, and you can work with a combination of your estate planning attorney who will generally be knowledgeable in tax matters but will not give you tax advice. And then you're going to work with your CPA who will be able to give you the tax advice. But I'm going to guess that there's going to be an entity involved, and then depending on how much control you want to have over the kids when they get the property or when they have control of the property, when or if they ever have the ability to sell the property, what happens to the income from the property, assuming it's an investment property. If it's a personal property like a residence, that's a different issue. So there's a lot of things that go into answering the question. So it isn't really a best. It's mostly about you being very clear about what it is you want to accomplish in transferring the property to the children. And so if you get clear on what you want in terms of an outcome, the how will become the responsibility of your advisors. And how is the easy part. Knowing what you want to do, only you can answer that question.
Another nuance, since you live in California, Proposition 13, not everyone who's not from California understands that, but that's going to impact the decision. A lot of times people in very expensive houses have figured out ways to transfer part of the exemptions, or there's some exemptions to be able to transfer to your direct relatives and avoid a step-up basis, additional change of property tax. The Proposition 13 was about the basis of tax. And in certain areas, we have what we call ad valorem taxes, and property taxes change based on the new price. In other places, it's not like that at all. The property tax that the buyer assumes is the same that the seller paid, and it gets increased only when the area increases. So you want to understand that part of it, and you're probably very aware of that living in Elk Grove. But it does begin with the end in mind. What are you trying to accomplish to get there's ways you can gift property over time. There's rules that apply there. Some of this is estate planning. So it's a little question with kind of a big answer.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back to a comment I made earlier, which is you don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish, because a reassessment of a property from a property tax perspective, depending on how much is appreciated from the time you purchased it to the time you transfer it to your children, you're going to want to make sure that you don't end up with any type of a reassessment. And of course, that can happen on a county by county basis. So you're going to want to make sure you do your homework there. So make sure you invest the time and money to get competent advice from estate planning and tax professionals. And again, I'm just going to go back to what I said earlier. Be real clear about what it is you're trying to accomplish, and then communicate that clearly to your advisors, and they will give you the tactics on how to get it done.
For some reason, we got a lot of questions.